income, high income, you know, and rather than just not only HUD, you know. But the idea is, you know, to centralize our developments, and that's, I think that's what we're really, that's what my hope is, something like that, to be able to utilize and share the resources rather than sprawl. That just costs everybody more money to try it, costs the service teachers.
Well, every time that somebody has their septic failing or anything, you know, fires get close to their homes, what have you, then they're bam right there at the council and they're needing help to pump their septic tank or drill their well deeper, or, you know, provide fire breaks around their rural homes by removing timber. And that's been a big thing too, because we get these rural home site requests and they're in highly timbered areas. And so just like what we've seen over here at Carly Pakotis' new home, you know, she put in the driveway and they disturbed vegetation, which, you know, caused erosion around her house, and a big old tree fell right on her brand new home. So now, you know, and so that's what we try to educate people when they come to our office on different options that they have. Hooking into these existing infrastructures, community systems, it eliminates a lot of maintenance and a lot of headache for an individual property owner, compared to if they're gonna drill a well and have on-site system on a piece of rural property. They're gonna have to worry about, you know, fire protection, landscaping to, you know, provide that fire break. They're going to have to worry about maintaining their wells, their pump houses in the wintertime. They're going to have to worry about pumping their septic systems. And, you know, let me tell you, in the last 4 years since I've been alone, it's a lot to handle, and it's a big expense to live out away from a community infrastructure. And it gave me a lot of appreciation for, you know, these town workers that are out there plowing streets for people and making sure your water turns on every day and that it's clean, because when you have to get out there in the middle of winter and do it yourself, and you don't know what you're doing, it's even worse.
We'll call you.
Let me tell you, I'm getting my own little to-do or how-to-do book going here, so.
Bring your shovel and your waders. We got digging to do.
Andy?
Well, I just wanted to thank everyone for all their questions. They're really, you know, I learned a lot from the questions as well. You know, we're not all experts in every field, and we have you know, a lot of different areas that we have to work in. I'm really glad that our staff stayed this late as well, because to me, I think it shows that you're dedicated to your job, and I just hope that we compensate our staff for when they have to come and do these recordings and be here at these late hours. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy.
So Dana?
Yeah, I was asked to discuss the public, what is it? I don't know, public comment provisions in the Administrative Procedures Act. And you know, the short answer, or that would be a real short discussion, I guess, because the tribe, none of the agencies that I'm aware of are using the Administrative Procedures Act in terms of rulemaking, which is what the public comment provisions are for. You know, rulemaking is another word for lawmaking, I guess, and essentially how the Administrative Procedures Act kind of came to be, or how it exists in terms of how it developed in the federal government. And I guess in, like, I think it was 1946, the United States government passed the Administrative Procedures Act. Essentially what it did was it allowed the legislative branch of the federal government to delegate its lawmaking authority, or some of its lawmaking authority, to the executive branch of the federal government, the different, you know, federal agencies that were charged with executing different laws, and a lot of that had to do with the, you know, the growth, the size of the government, and you know, the inability, I guess, of Congress to be able to contemplate and pass every law that had to do with every action by every person on everything in the country. And so some of that authority started to get delegated out to the agencies. We have, you know, this is essentially, I think, the Administrative Procedures Act that the tribes has is an opportunity or a safety net for that growth, and I think we're pretty close. But as it stands, all of the agencies, like I said, that I'm aware of, are still using the legislative process, because we don't have a three-part government, right? We don't necessarily have an executive branch in terms of delegating, you know, authority. It's a legislative branch, and people are still using the code revision or tribal code process for passing things that would be considered rules if they were done under the Administrative Procedures Act. And so the comment period and the public participation that exists in that section of the code is what's used currently.
So where do resolutions and 10 signature resolutions fall into this? Are they?
Resolutions are the mechanism, I guess, that the council uses to act. So whether it's passing a law or passing a regulation or you know, passing a policy, taking a position, you know, some kind of policy position, hiring people, terminating people, you know, everything that the council is entrusted to do by the Constitution, they do officially through resolution. And there's, you know, myriad other mechanisms that, you know, can be used, but the resolution is the, I guess, lawmaking, policy passing, whatever official action mechanism that I think is the highest in terms of there's a hierarchy. You know, resolution is equivalent of a law, I guess.
So we have our own Administrative Procedures Act, but we don't use it?
I think, yeah. Like I said, as far as I'm aware, there may have been instances in the past that I'm not aware of, but I have never in my time dealing with tribal governmental legal issues had to deal with an Administrative Procedure Act rulemaking issue, which is what the email that I was sent was, you know, asking.
What about TIRO cases? TIRO cases have to go through the Administrative Procedures Act.
But that's not rulemaking. That public comment on rulemaking and an appeal are different parts of the act. And so TARO, and it specifically says, you know, water use permitting, shoreline management, TARO, blah, blah, blah. I think the EPM references the Administrative Procedures Act in it as, you know, something separate from what, you know, the original thing is. And what that is used for is for the appeal process in terms of, well, Land Use Review Board, there's a whole bunch of different boards that are set up to hear contested cases. And I mean, there's a section where it starts in here, contested cases 2, 4, 13, and it kind of sets out the process for, you know, disputing, you know, some action or something, and then that's the process that I think, like the TARO Commission uses on appeals. The TARO, but it's also set forth in the tarot code, right? So the tarot code kind of says how you have to go through that process, but then it references the APA and says that, you know, appeals to the director's decision will be held, you know, dealt with in accordance with the APA, but that's not rulemaking, that's appealing, you know, an action that was done codified as the tarot code, not necessarily a tarot rulemaking.
So if our resolutions don't fall under the APA, are they considered more like executive orders?
No, our resolutions, I think, yeah, that's a legislative act. Resolution's a legislative act. An APA rulemaking act and an executive order are executive branch acts in the federal
But we don't
government,
have an
and
executive
we
branch.
don't have an executive branch as a separate branch of government. Now, we certainly have an executive function that, you know, starts at the executive director and goes down through the chain of command, whatever this little chart called, the org chart. Yes, thank you. It's 9.
It's late. It's not my
I've been
fault.
doing
I was
this
very
all day.
quiet the whole rest of the meeting.
No, but yeah, and what about the horses? That's what I wanted to ask. What about the horses?
We're not going back to talk about the horses.
Let's get to what matters here. So, yeah, the executive function, it's really weird. It's something I've been looking at for, you know, trying to figure out for years. Just a way of thinking about my own brain, how this kind of mesh or two branch system of government, I guess, that we have works with the blueprint that exists in this country, which is a 3-branch system of government. But we have a 2-branch system, which is one more branch than 99% of the tribes that exist now.
Still not very good at checks and balances, though.
Well, I mean, I think I think the judicial system works pretty well. And all of the, and that's part of the thing. So all the executive things, the administrative appeals are all appealable. And that's why they reference the APA, because the APA actually creates a mechanism for people to get into tribal court to appeal those decisions. And so then tribal court, as a separate branch of government, or at least reviews that evidence and makes a determination, and it's a limited determination. It's not a hearing on the facts, right? It's a hearing on abuse of discretion, or there's a certain, list of things reasons that it can be appealed. But then the judicial branch is basically checking to see that the legislative/executive followed the procedures that are in place in coming up with a decision, and followed the rules that are in place in coming up with, a decision through the ALJ, which is a whole nother thing in that case, or the Land Use Review Board, or the Tarot Commission, and if they make a mistake, and there's been, cases where the trial court, the public tribal court has said no, that wasn't a correct decision, or they affirmed the decision of the whatever body was working under, the APA or through an ALJ or whatever, and then that can be appealed to the Court of Appeals by either party if they want to continue pushing it, and if the Court of Appeals rules in any certain way, the law can be amended and changed to address that situation. So I think the check and the balance works as long as
Everybody follows the law.
everyone does it. Yeah, I mean, it's there, I guess I should say.
There's something there. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for explaining it and for waiting so long.
Yeah, it's really late, we need to wrap up. There are a little bit of food left over, I appreciate people grabbing what's left over there. Jerry?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment, about just like follow-up questions that we have tonight now. And it's just like Carla has said, a lot of these things are just fall by the wayside, just like we come here and we're concerned about different things. I'm just